The Trump administration has announced a new policy change that would crack down on legal immigration or legal immigrants who happen to use public benefits. Now, the new policy is called inadmissibility on public charge grounds. And what it would do, and I'll give you a more in depth breakdown as the story progresses, but basically, it just showed up and it will take effect in about 2 months. Now, that's assuming that it's not challenged, right? So now what it is that it's full of new restrictions on immigrants who might actually draw taxpayer funded benefits. So that's a bit of a problem because you do have immigrants that come over, they don't have a penny to their name, they're broke, they're sometimes fleeing violence, and they decide to come to America to come to a better life. Now, the United States has a history of people doing that who come over with less than a penny in their pocket, 2 cents, whatever, and they end up actually starting very successful businesses and creating lots of jobs in America and creating great companies. Or their second generation, immigrants will be the ones that create these giant, new companies and new opportunities. The Trump administration is like, no, we're going to put a stop to that. According to the Washington Post, wealth, education, age, and English language skills will now take on a greater importance in the process for obtaining a green card, as the change seeks to redefine what it means to be a public charge. And we'll get to that as well as who is likely to be one under U.S. immigration law. So you're going to hear that public charge, public charge, public charge. What does that mean? What does it mean to be a public charge? Essentially, it's getting any sort of taxpayer benefits, but there's also a more insidious component to it as well, because anyone who's a public charge could also be someone who might be considered for their application for a green card to possibly someday need any sort of public benefit. But now let me, again, show you how that this impacts legal immigrants. Again, this is not about undocumented immigrants. This is all about people who have applied for green cards and some who have actually lived in America for quite some time, who already have their green cards but are not a naturalized citizen yet, right? So if you're poor and you come here from a poor country, obviously, and you don't have a lot of resources, you don't have any resources, you're waiting to find a job, or to be cleared to be able to find a job because there's a waiting period as well. If you use public benefits, or even if you live in a household that receives public benefits, you will not get your green card and you will not be able to get that green card. That's crazy because you'll be considered a public charge. So if you need any help at all, well, there go your chances, right? That's it. You're done. So obviously, this would destroy about any hope of people who have lost everything in their home countries to make a new life in America, or who have given up everything in their home countries to come to America. Now, it also destroys the fundamental principles behind immigration to the U.S., where somebody can come who is poor and actually use opportunity to become successful, right? This is literally the American dream for immigrants, and Donald Trump and his administration have decided to shut it down. So now you have Ken Cuccinelli, right? He is the also known as the Cooch. He's the guy that tried to ban oral sex. Just to let you know that. Fun fact. He's the acting director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and he was talking to reporters at the White House during a briefing, and he said this.
President Trump's administration is reinforcing the ideals of self-sufficiency and personal responsibility, ensuring that immigrants are able to support themselves and become successful here in America. Our rule generally prevents aliens who are likely to become a public charge from coming to the United States or remaining here and getting a green card. Public charge is now defined in a way that ensures the law is meaningfully enforced and that those who are subject to it are self-sufficient. This rule will cover, for USCIS, almost 400,000 people a year whose applications to become legal permanent residents will include a meaningful analysis of whether they're likely to become a public charge or not. I do not think by any means we're ready to take anything off the Statute of Liberty.
But if they could, they probably would. Look, now analysts say that the charge change could dramatically reduce family-based legal immigration to the United States, particularly from Mexico, Central America, and Africa. Because of course it does. That's the point. So you might as well change the Statue of Liberty, because that's exactly who the Statue of Liberty is aimed for. People who are poor, who are desperate, who bring their families to start a new life here in America, and they're doing it the legal way. This administration is saying, no, we don't want that. Latinos, African Americans, Middle Easterners, we don't want you here. We told you, I've told you, he does not want legal immigration. Unless, of course, you are wealthy and you are white. One of the things that the president has said before, why can't we have more people from Norway? We want more Norwegians to come here, or wealthy Europeans. Maybe even wealthy Eastern Europeans. Now, here's the thing, right? Generally, people who live in wealthier countries, wealthy white countries like Finland and Norway, they don't want to come here. Why? Because the United States is actually incredibly dangerous. That, for one, there's no national healthcare system. And for two, have you seen the amount of mass shootings we have? Way more than any other country, right? Why would anyone of some means, and I'm not saying lots of means, but modest means, who can take care of themselves without government assistance, why would they ever want to come to America? No, the only people that want to come here are people who are super, super wealthy and don't want to pay taxes. This is basically telling the elites of the world, no, you guys, America's for you. Come on in. We will take you and your money. But, forget the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. No, we want rich people, and rich people only. And in fact, if we could deport our own citizens for using food stamps, we would, except we're not allowed to do it. That's what this is about. Now, let's go on to the public change, right? The public charge, I should say. The Trump administration also will broaden the public charge definition to encompass not just those primarily dependent on public assistance programs, but anyone who uses a public benefit, including publicly funded healthcare programs, including Medicaid, food stamps, other nutrition-related programs, or housing assistance. So now, right now, anybody who's considered a public charge is already ineligible for a green card, right? So it's actually a lie that they're going to be enforcing the law. No, what they're doing is they're broadening the law so they can basically capture more people and deny more people a green card. And here's some of the criteria, right? Having a medical condition that will interfere with work or school, not having enough money to cover any reasonably foreseeable medical costs, which in America, foreseeable medical costs are, look, you know our system. You know how expensive our system is. We do not have a Medicare for all program. We do not have a single payer system. We pay twice as much as Canada and the UK to get medical care per capita. And then they're saying, oh no, in order to get a green card now, you have to make sure that you have enough money to cover any reasonably foreseeable medical cost, which could be in the hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars. And that's related to such medical condition. Not only that, but if you have financial liabilities, haven't been approved to receive a public benefit, even if you don't collect that benefit, if you've applied and been approved for that, they will consider that you being a public charge and can use that for grounds to deny you. Having a low credit score can lead to you being denied a green card. The absence of private health insurance, the absence of a college degree, not having the English language skills sufficient to enter the job market, or having a sponsor who is unlikely to provide financial support. These are the guidelines. You know, it's funny, a lot of Americans wouldn't actually meet these guidelines. But then again, since we were all lucky enough to be born here, I guess we don't have to worry about it. Genetic lottery, you know. So, of course, the effect of this is that green card holders who may have these issues are just not applying for benefits now, meaning that there are people who are food insecure that need help, but are not taking it because Trump will take away their green card, or the government will. Or people have medical conditions, right? Now go, well, we're going to make sure the government doesn't know about any of this stuff, because if they do, then we're going to have our green card removed and then possibly thrown into a cage and deported. So now it's incredibly gross. It's cruelty for the sake of cruelty. And it's again saying to the wealthy and the elite across the world, America's only for you and not for anyone else. But here's the thing. Trump's base, this is exactly what they've been waiting for. They love policies like this. This kind of thing is what he talked about, what he promised to do. The whole campaign from the start was about keeping immigrants out of America. And that's the thing. Make America great again. Basically means make America white again. Everything else was also pandering, but he never meant a word of it. On this again, Trump believes in these old stereotypes, right? And when he went to the crowd, and this is the interesting thing about him, right? Because look, again, Trump, you know, is an old school racist, believes in these old, you know, stereotypes against, about Puerto Ricans being lazy and black people being criminals and thugs, etc. That's why he took a whole, front page ad out to call for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, even though that they had been found not guilty, and they actually had the real rapist that had committed that attack and who had admitted to it. Didn't care at all. Oh, well, they must have done something wrong, right? Those old stereotypes, right? He believes in those. And so it wasn't hard for him to A/B test the crowd and to say, you know, all immigrants are terrible, they're lazy, etc. People from Mexico are criminals and rapists and things like that. And he would test the crowd. Immigrants good? Boo. Immigrants bad? Yay. And so he would appeal to that crowd. And that's what he continues to do. It's what he's always done. He's played to the crowd. He's an entertainer at heart. Tells people what they want to hear, and then ends up somehow being able to stuff all that money into his own pocket. This immigration stuff, it's actually one of the things he has the power to do as president, doing these executive orders. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to get challenged in court. There will be plenty of court challenges to this executive order. And so maybe we can keep this from happening. We can keep, the Trump administration from denying people who come here to the American dream, to try to, get the American dream. It's my hope, like I said, that we can put a stop to it, because this is a gross, inhumane, disgusting policy. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.